So last time we said that the Bible was written in the language of Hebrew and Greek, and there's a little Aramaic thrown in there too. Well, that means that our English translation is just that, translation. And if you've ever tried to translate a sentence in one language into another language, you know that it can be difficult to pull off. And it's tough to attempt to take the Bible, something so sacred and so important, God's Word, and to translate it into our language. It's really hard. And so I get the question often, which translation is the best translation to use? And I think that's a really good question. And instead of giving you a list of translations that you should use, I want to give you some principles to look at as far as what makes a good translation. 3 questions you should ask. The first question is it accurate? If you laid the original language down next to the English language, would it be the same message? Is the message in the Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic the same message you're going to get in the English? That's what we mean by accuracy. And so we want the Bible to be accurate, to take the message and to put it into our language. The second question you should ask after you ask, is it accurate? You have to ask yourself this: is it literal? And by literal, I don't just mean word for word, because I think it is important to try to do word for word as much as possible. But I also think it's important to get idea for idea, because some words take more than one word if you translate it into a different language, because some words are more conceptual and they actually require more words to get the idea down. And so what we want is something that is as literal in both word and idea as possible. Now look, I think paraphrase Bibles have their place, but as far as the Bible that you regularly study from, they're probably not the best version to use, the best translation. So you want something more on the literal side. The third thing is it readable? Now this is where like a King James Version or New American Standard are really difficult. They're written at 11th grade reading level. And you might say, well, what's the big deal there? Well, you have to understand that most books these days are written between the 4th and 8th grade in their reading level. And so we're used to an easier read. And so the Bible comes along in some of these translations, and it can be really hard for modern readers to be able to understand, comprehend, and digest. So you want something that's really readable. I used to use the New American Standard. I grew up with it, love it. But as I looked at some of the more modern translations and their readability without giving up on accuracy and literal translation, they became more readable for today. And so I've switched it around even for myself some, just to try to find all 3 of these things in one Bible. And that's what you want to do. You want something that's accurate, literal, and readable. That's the best path forward as you seek to find the best translation.